The President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, said on Friday that it's far too early to talk about a success in a hard-fought deal on migration. He warned that the tough work to implement the agreement still lay ahead. His comments came after a two-day summit of EU leaders focusing on migration and Brexit. Tusk said agreement at Council level was the easiest part of the process. At the summit, EU leaders agreed upon a new approach to managing illegal migrants rescued at sea. The migrants would be dispersed among EU members to ease the burden on the main point of entry countries like Spain, Italy and Greece. It's also been proposed that migrants be taken to centres in North Africa and possibly the Balkans. Well, earlier we spoke to Khalid Dawood, a political analyst for Al Ahram Weekly based in Cairo. He explained why North African nations like Morocco and Libya have rejected EU proposals to host processing centres for asylum seekers.
As you know, there's been a rise in right-wing populist parties in countries like Italy, in Germany, and in several other European countries, including, of course, former Eastern European nations that have been adopting a very critical attitude towards the issue of migration. And probably this is where this proposal stems from, that they want to solve the problems of Italy, of Spain, of Greece, at the expense of Northern African nations such as Morocco, Tunisia and Algeria, and sometimes even proposals extend as far as Egypt. I guess it's, for me personally, as a North African, this is like almost immoral. I mean, why should we be asked to establish detention centers basically in our own countries while the European nations consider their cases, and this is something that we cannot trust. I mean, there is no reason why we can believe that the European countries are at one point or the other going to take in these immigrants, and I don't think that any of the North African nations, whether Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, or even Libya or Egypt, would accept such a proposal by the European countries to establish detention centers on our own territories. Well, the problem, that it's not really clear what exactly do the Europeans want from the North African countries. I mean, it's like we've seen this perhaps happening before with a country like Turkey or immediately after the start of the Syrian civil war, whereby there was a deal reached between the European nations and Turkey got something like $3 billion so that it can basically control its own borders and prevent the flow of Syrian immigrants from Turkey to Greece, while in the case of the North African nations, it's not clear at all what are the European countries talking about, what are the economic returns, what are the guarantees that this issue is going to be treated in a proper manner, respecting the human dignity of the African people who are African or whatever the nationality they are coming from, trying to escape through North Africa going to Europe. Besides, personally, I believe that instead of offering such solutions, if they could be called solutions, there should be more effort exerted in investing in African countries or in finding political solutions for the wars that exist in places like Syria or in Libya or in Iraq, so that we can have better control over the migration issues.